The research vessel Horizon drifted through the darkness of deep space, its engines humming softly as it moved past distant stars. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair, watching the screens that showed nothing but empty void. His crew had been out here for 3 months, mapping the outer rim territories where few humans had ever traveled. Jake was a tall man with short brown hair and tired eyes. He had been flying ships since he was 20, and now at 35, space felt more like home than Earth ever did. Next to him, Amy Rodriguez worked the pilot controls with steady hands. She was younger, only 28, with black hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her fingers moved across the console without her even looking. Pure muscle memory from years of flight training. Behind them, Kevin Palmer sat at the engineering station. He was a big guy with red hair and freckles, the kind of person who could fix anything with just a wrench and some wire. He hummed quietly while he worked, checking systems and making sure everything ran smooth. In the medical bay below, Lisa Chang was organizing supplies. She was small and quick, with glasses that always slid down her nose when she concentrated. And somewhere on the lower deck, Brandon Cole was running security checks. Brandon was former military, built like a tank, with scars on his knuckles from fights he never talked about. The 5 of them had become a tight crew over the months. They knew each other's habits, finished each other's sentences, and could work together without needing to speak. Amy's console beeped suddenly. She leaned forward, frowning at the readings. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. Looks like a structure about 50,000 kilometers ahead." Jake sat up straighter. "A structure? Out here?" "Yeah, it's big, really big, but it's not showing any power signatures. Might be derelict." Kevin rolled his chair over to look at Amy's screen. "That's weird. The design doesn't match any known species. Want me to run it through the database?" "Do it," Jake said. He pressed the comm button. "Lisa, Brandon, get up here. We found something." Within minutes, the whole crew was on the bridge, staring at the massive structure that filled their view screen. It looked like a combination of crystal and metal, geometric shapes that hurt the eyes to look at for too long. It spun slowly in the void, catching starlight and reflecting it in strange patterns. "I've never seen anything like this," Lisa whispered. Brandon crossed his arms. "Could be a trap." "Could be," Jake agreed. "But we're researchers. This is what we came out here for. Amy, take us in slow. Kevin, keep all sensors running. Brandon, weapons ready just in case." The Horizon crept toward the alien structure. As they got closer, they could see it was even bigger than they thought. It had to be at least 2 kilometers across, with sections that seemed to phase in and out of normal space. "Still no power readings," Amy reported. "No life signs either." "Okay," Jake said. "Let's dock and take a look. Suit up, everyone." 20 minutes later, all 5 of them floated through an airlock and into the alien structure. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, showing corridors that branched in impossible directions. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch. "This doesn't feel abandoned," Kevin said. His voice crackled over the radio. "The air composition is perfect. Temperature is comfortable. Something's maintaining this place." "Great." They moved deeper into the structure, following a main corridor that seemed to lead toward the center. Lisa kept checking her medical scanner, making sure there were no biological hazards. Brandon stayed at the back, his hand near his weapon. Then everything changed. The corridor blazed with light so bright they had to close their eyes. When Jake opened his again, he saw them. Creatures that looked like a cross between insects and machines. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with 4 arms and heads that had too many eyes. Their bodies were covered in a hard shell that gleamed like polished metal. "Contact!" Brandon shouted, reaching for his weapon. But before any of them could move, the air around them seemed to thicken. Jake tried to run, but his legs wouldn't work. His arms hung at his sides. Useless. He could see his crew frozen the same way, their faces showing panic but their bodies locked in place. One of the creatures approached. It moved with perfect mechanical precision, each step exactly the same length. When it spoke, a device on its chest translated the clicking sounds into words they could understand. "Humans, excellent specimens. You will not be harmed if you do not resist. We are the Veskari. You have been selected for scientific study. Jake tried to speak, but his jaw wouldn't move. The creature tilted its head, studying him with multiple black eyes. Your resistance is futile. Our technology controls the electromagnetic field around your nervous system. You cannot move until we allow it. You will be taken to observation chambers. The study will begin soon. More Veskari appeared, surrounding the frozen humans. They produced devices that looked like floating stretchers. With mechanical efficiency, they loaded each human onto a stretcher. Jake felt himself being carried through the corridors, unable to do anything but watch the ceiling pass overhead. They separated the crew. Jake caught a last glimpse of Amy's frightened face before walls slid between them. Then he was alone in a white room, still paralyzed on the floating stretcher. The Veskari who had spoken earlier entered the room. I am Threshik, lead researcher for this facility. You will answer questions. You will perform tasks. Your reflexes and responses will be measured. This is a great honor. Humans are new to the galaxy. We know little about your species. That will change. Jake felt the paralysis start to fade. His fingers twitched first, then his toes. Slowly, control returned to his body. He sat up on the stretcher, his heart pounding. You can't just kidnap people, he said, his voice rough. Threshik's head tilted the other way. We can. We have. Your species has no legal standing in this sector. You are research subjects now. Accept this reality. What about my crew? They are safe. All will be tested. All will provide valuable data. Then you will be returned to your vessel and released. We are scientists, not monsters. Cooperation will make this easier. Wait. Before Jake could respond, the room's walls lit up with screens. Images flashed across them, too fast to follow. Shapes, colors, patterns. Jake's eyes tracked them automatically, his head turning to follow movement. Good, Threshik said, watching a device in his upper right hand. Your optical reflexes are within expected parameters. We will begin with simple tests. Visual stimuli, auditory responses, basic motor functions. Later, we will progress to more complex scenarios. A small object appeared in the air in front of Jake, floating on some kind of invisible field. It moved left, and his eyes followed. It moved right, and again his eyes tracked it. Then it dropped suddenly. Jake's hand shot out and caught it before it hit the ground. 3 days passed in the white room. Jake had no way to count time except by the sleep cycles the Veskari allowed him. They brought food that tasted like nothing and water that was too pure. Between meals, they ran test after test after test. The tests started simple. Catch the falling object. Press the button when the light turns red. Identify the sound. But Jake noticed something. Every time he performed a test, Threshik and the other researchers seemed more confused. They would click at each other in their own language, looking at their devices with what Jake had learned to recognize as concern. On the 4th day, they brought Amy into his testing room. She looked tired but unharmed. Her eyes met his and he saw the same frustration he felt. They've been testing you too? Jake asked. Non-stop, Amy said. Reaction drills, flight simulations. They seem really interested in how I handle the controls. Threshik entered the room with 2 other Veskari. You will now perform cooperative tests. We wish to see how human pack dynamics affect individual response times. They set up a complex maze of light beams that Amy and Jake had to navigate without touching. The beams moved in patterns, creating gaps they had to slip through. Jake went first, his body moving on instinct. He bent, twisted, ducked under a beam that swept past his head. His hands found holds on the walls without him looking for them. Amy followed right behind him. She moved like water, flowing through spaces that seemed too small. Her pilot training made her aware of her body in 3-dimensional space. She rolled under a beam, pushed off a wall, and landed in a crouch next to Jake. They finished the maze in 42 seconds. The Veskari researchers were silent for a long moment. Then Threshik spoke quietly to the others. Jake couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Something was wrong. "That is enough for today," Threshik said. "Return to your chambers." Over the next week, they tested each crew member. Kevin was brought to a room full of broken alien machinery. The Veskari watched as he examined devices he had never seen before, his hands moving over them with confidence. He didn't know how the machines worked, but his engineer's instincts guided him. He found connection points, identified power sources, traced circuits with his fingers. Within an hour, he had 3 machines running. The Veskari had expected the tests to take days. Lisa was given medical scenarios with alien anatomy. She had no training with Veskari biology, but her hands were steady as she worked. She identified what had to be a heart by the way the tissue pulsed. She found breathing organs by their structure. Her medical instincts translated across species. But it was Brandon's tests that truly alarmed the Veskari. They put him in a large room and activated combat drones. The drones were designed for training, programmed to attack in predictable patterns. The Veskari used them to test defensive reflexes in the species they studied. Brandon didn't defend. He attacked. The first drone came at him from the front. Brandon didn't back away. He stepped into its path, his body twisting at the last second. His hand caught the drone's sensor array and ripped it free. The drone spun out of control and crashed into a wall. 2 more drones came from different angles. Brandon's body seemed to know where they were without looking. He ducked under one, his legs sweeping out to clip the other. His hands moved in strikes that the drones couldn't predict because there was no pattern to predict. Brandon fought on pure instinct. In 2 minutes, 6 drones were scattered across the floor in pieces. Threshik stood in the observation room with another researcher named Kleinex. They watched the playback of Brandon's fight over and over. "This is not normal reflex activity," Kleinex said. His translator made his voice sound mechanical and cold. "His reaction time improves during the combat. He learns and adapts in real time. Our models cannot predict his movements because he is not following any learned pattern. He is creating new responses with each action." "All 5 humans show this trait," Threshik said. "The pilot improves her coordination with each flight test. The engineer solves problems faster the more we give him. The medical officer's precision increases under pressure. Even the captain shows adaptive improvement in every scenario." "We should end the study," Kleinex said. "This data is concerning. Humans possess what I am calling dynamic reflexive adaptation. They do not just react, they evolve their reactions in the moment. I have studied 47 species. None have shown this capability." Threshik was quiet for a long time. His multiple eyes watched Brandon on the screen, watched the human move with deadly efficiency that had no right to exist. "One more test," Threshik finally said. "We will place all 5 humans together in a high-stress scenario. We need to understand how their pack dynamics affect this adaptation. Do they improve individually or collectively?" "That is dangerous," Kleinex warned. "It is necessary. Science demands complete data. We will use the arena. We will introduce controlled threats. We will observe and record. Then we will end the study and release them as promised." Kleinex's head lowered in what might have been concern. "I recommend additional security measures." "Agreed. Double the guards, seal all exits from the arena. We cannot afford mistakes." The next day, the Veskari brought all 5 humans to a large circular room. The arena was maybe 50 meters across with high walls and a domed ceiling. The floor was marked with strange symbols that glowed faintly. Jake saw his crew for the first time in days. Amy looked thinner. Kevin had dark circles under his eyes. Lisa's hands shook slightly. Brandon's jaw was tight with controlled anger. They moved together without speaking, forming a loose circle with their backs to each other. It was instinct. The same instinct that made humans dangerous on old Earth when predators hunted them. Watch each other's backs. Protect the group. Threshik's voice came from speakers in the walls. Final test. You will face automated defense units. They are programmed to create stress, but not to cause permanent harm. Your task is simple: survive for 10 minutes. Demonstrate your reflexive responses under maximum pressure. Show us how humans react to danger as a group. And if we refuse? Jake called out. You cannot refuse. The test begins now. Panels in the walls slid open. Drones emerged, bigger than the ones Brandon had fought before. These were sleek and fast, with multiple weapons mounted on rotating joints. They spread out around the arena, their sensors glowing red. Lisa moved closer to Jake. I don't like this. Stay together, Brandon said. His voice was calm, but his body was already shifting into a fighting stance. They're trying to see how we react. Let's show them. Arnan. The drones activated with a high-pitched whine. They began to circle the humans, moving in coordinated patterns that the Viscari had programmed over decades of research. The drone came fast, its weapons charging with a sound like tearing metal. Jake didn't think. His body moved first, his mind catching up later. He threw himself sideways, rolled, came up in a crouch. The drone's shot hit the floor where he had been standing, leaving a scorch mark on the strange metal. But Jake wasn't alone. Amy was already moving, her eyes tracking 3 drones at once. Her pilot instincts saw their flight patterns, predicted their paths. She shouted coordinates without thinking about it, pure reflex. Left high, right low, center closing fast. Brandon heard her and reacted. He went left, jumping higher than should have been possible. His hand caught the edge of a drone's housing, and he used his weight to pull it down. The machine tried to compensate, but Brandon's combat reflexes were faster. He twisted, and the drone smashed into the floor hard enough to crack its casing. Kevin was on it immediately. His engineer's eyes saw the exposed power cell, the damaged circuits. His hands tore into the broken machine, pulling out components that sparked and sizzled. Within seconds, he had a piece of the drone's armor plating in one hand and a live power connector in the other. I got parts, he yelled. I can work with this. Lisa stayed in the center of their group, her medical training making her the natural coordinator. She saw Brandon favoring his left side after the landing. She saw Amy's eyes dilating from adrenaline. She tracked everyone's positions and called out warnings. Kevin, behind you. Jake, drone coming overhead. Amy, 3 o'clock. The humans moved like they had trained together for years instead of months. Every call was answered. Every warning was heeded. They didn't discuss tactics or plan strategies. They just moved, their reflexes syncing up in ways the Viscari had never imagined. In the observation room, Threshik watched with growing horror. His devices showed readings that made no sense. The humans' heart rates were through the ceiling. Their adrenaline levels should have made them sloppy, panicked. Instead, they were getting faster, more coordinated, more dangerous. Shut it down, Kleinik said. His voice had lost its mechanical calm. Shut down the test now. Not yet, Threshik said, but his hands were shaking. We need more data. We need to understand how they do this. They are destroying military-grade drones with their hands. This is not research anymore. This is a threat assessment. Shut it down. Thanks for watching. And we're made again that, but it was too late. Jake had found a piece of broken drone arm. It was sharp and light, and fit his hand perfectly. When the next drone came at him, he didn't dodge. He stepped into its path and drove the metal shard into its sensor cluster. The drone sparked and died, crashing at his feet. They can be killed, he said. His voice was rough, almost animal. The fear and frustration of days of captivity was burning away, replaced by something older. Something that had kept humans alive when saber-toothed cats hunted them. They can all be killed. Brandon heard him and grinned. It wasn't a friendly expression. Then let's kill them all. The arena became chaos. The drones tried to adapt, changing their patterns, attacking from new angles. But humans didn't fight with patterns. Amy threw a piece of debris, and her pilot's aim put it right through a drone's rotator. Kevin bridged 2 power connections and created a makeshift electromagnet that pulled drones out of the air. Lisa picked up a metal rod and used it like a surgical tool, finding weak points with precision strikes. And Brandon moved through the drones like a storm. His Marine training had been buried under years of civilian work, but it roared back to life now. Every punch disabled a servo, every kick sent a drone spinning into walls. His reflexes were so fast that the machines couldn't target him. In 3 minutes, 15 drones were destroyed. The Veskari had expected the humans to last 10 minutes by hiding and dodging. Instead, they had gone on the attack and won. Threshik reached for the shutdown controls, but Jake was already looking up at the observation window. Their eyes met through the transparent wall. Jake's were wild with adrenaline and anger and determination. "The window," Jake said to his crew. "That's our way out." Amy looked up and nodded. Kevin was already calculating angles. Brandon picked up the heaviest piece of drone wreckage he could find. "On 3, Brandon said. 1, 2, 3. He threw the debris like a shot put. It flew straight and true, smashing into the observation window. The material was strong, designed to withstand weapons fire. But it cracked. Spider web fractures spread across its surface. "Again!" Jake shouted. They all grabbed pieces of destroyed drones and threw them. The window cracked more. On the other side, Veskari researchers scrambled away from their stations. Security to arena level. Threshik was screaming into his communication device. "Seal all exits. Contain the humans." But the window shattered before security could arrive. Brandon went through first, his heavy body clearing the remaining shards. He landed in the observation room in a roll, coming up with fists ready. The Veskari researchers scattered. They were scientists, not fighters. Their reflexes were built for careful measurement, not combat. Brandon's reflexes were built for survival. He didn't hurt them. He just moved past them, heading for the door. The others followed, climbing through the broken window. Kevin grabbed a Veskari datapad as he passed. Lisa snatched a medical kit from a wall cabinet. Amy's eyes scanned every console, memorizing layouts and controls. Jake was the last through. He faced Threshik, who stood frozen by his equipment. "You said you weren't monsters," Jake said. His breathing was heavy but controlled. "You lied. You're kidnappers. You're jailers. And now you're prey." He turned and ran after his crew. The station's alarms wailed to life. Lights flashed red, doors began to seal, but Kevin was already at the nearest control panel, his hands flying over alien symbols. He didn't know the language, he didn't know the system, but his reflexes understood machines at a level deeper than conscious thought. The door opened. They ran through corridors that twisted in impossible directions. Brandon led, his combat instincts finding the best paths. When they hit a sealed door, Kevin opened it. When guards appeared, Brandon took them down with quick, efficient strikes. The Veskari guards were trained and equipped, but they had never fought an opponent who moved on pure instinct. Amy found a wall map, and her pilot's mind parsed it instantly. Docking bay is 3 levels down, east section. They found a lift shaft. The lift was locked out, but Kevin disabled the safety systems in seconds. They climbed down the shaft, hands and feet finding holds automatically. Their muscles remembered climbing trees, scaling cliffs, all the things their ancestors had done to survive. 2 levels down, the shaft opened to a maintenance corridor. They emerged just as a squad of 10 Veskari guards rounded the corner. The aliens raised weapons that hummed with lethal energy. "Surrender," the lead guard said through his translator. "You cannot escape. We have sealed the docking bay. We have alerted the command ship. Submit, and you will not be harmed." Brandon looked at the guards, looked at their careful formation, their precisely aimed weapons, their calculated positions. Then he looked at Jake and smiled. "They still don't get it," Brandon said. Jake smiled back. "No, they really don't." The humans charged. The Veskari guards fired, but humans didn't move like any species they had trained against. Amy dropped and rolled under the energy beams. Kevin went sideways, using the corridor wall to push off. Lisa stayed low, making herself a smaller target. Brandon went straight forward, his body weaving between shots that should have hit him. The guards tried to adjust their aim. But human reflexes were faster than Amy hit the Horizon's bridge at a full run. Her hands flew across the startup sequence, bypassing safety checks that would normally take 10 minutes. Her pilot reflexes knew what the ship needed. Power to engines first, navigation second. Life support could wait, weapons could wait. They just needed to move. The engines hummed to life 30 seconds after she sat down. Jake and the others pounded up the access ramp behind her. Kevin went straight to engineering, his fingers dancing over controls before his conscious mind even registered what he was fixing. Brandon sealed the airlock and grabbed the weapons console. Lisa strapped into the co-pilot seat, ready to handle whatever Amy needed. Docking clamps are still attached, Amy said. Her voice was steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. We're locked down. Not for long, Kevin's voice came through the intercom. Rerouting power to the clamp release servos. 3, 2, 1. Now, the Horizon shuddered as the clamps released. Amy's hands were already moving, firing maneuvering thrusters before the ship was fully free. The Horizon lurched out of its dock, scraping against the bay doors. Alarms screamed through the Vescari station. In the command center, Dreshkor watched the human ship break free. He was the station commander, a veteran of 30 years. He had dealt with escaped research subjects before. Usually, they tried to hide in the station or find escape pods. None had ever reached their ship. None had ever been human. Close the bay doors, Dreshkor ordered. Deploy security fighters. Do not let that ship leave this station. But the bay doors were too slow. Amy saw them starting to close and pushed the Horizon's engines to full power. The ship shot forward, its hull scraping against the narrowing gap. Metal screamed against metal. Sparks flew. The Horizon's shields flared, overloading from the friction. Then they were through, bursting into open space with alarms blaring and half their shield generators burning. We're out, Lisa shouted. Not clear yet, Amy said. Her eyes tracked the scanner, showing 6 Vescari fighters launching from the station. We got company. The fighters were sleek and fast, built for precision intercept work. Their weapon systems locked onto the Horizon immediately. Advanced targeting computers calculated the human ship's trajectory, predicted its evasive maneuvers, and prepared firing solutions that should have been impossible to dodge. Should have been. Amy's hands moved before the fighters even fired. The Horizon twisted hard to starboard, engines screaming. Energy beams passed through the space where they had been a second ago. Amy didn't think about the maneuver. She didn't calculate angles or velocities. Her reflexes felt the danger and moved. The Vescari fighters adjusted their aim, compensating for the unexpected dodge. Their computers ran through thousands of possible evasion patterns, preparing for the most likely human responses. Amy did none of them. She threw the Horizon into a spin that would have made any sane pilot black out. The ship corkscrewed through space, dodging fire that should have been impossible to dodge. The Vescari targeting systems kept trying to predict her next move. But Amy wasn't following any pattern. She was flying on pure instinct, the same instincts that let ancient humans dodge thrown spears and charging animals. I need weapons, Brandon shouted from the tactical station. Their fighters are too fast. I can't get a lock. You don't need a lock, Jake said. He was at the sensor station, watching the fighters move. They're flying in formation. Perfect spacing. Perfect coordination. They're predictable. Aim where they're going to be, not where they are. Brandon's reflexes understood before his mind did. He stopped trying to target the fighters directly. Instead, he watched their pattern, felt their rhythm. When he fired, his shots went to empty space. The Vescari fighters flew right into them. 2 fighters exploded. The others broke formation, trying to adapt. But breaking formation meant breaking their predictable pattern. It made them harder to target, but it also made them less effective. Their weapons couldn't coordinate anymore. Amy used the confusion to put distance between the Horizon and the station. The ship's damaged engines protested, but she pushed them harder. Kevin was down in engineering, his hands working on 3 repair jobs at once. His reflexes told him which wire to splice first, which connection could wait, which system needed immediate attention. Fighters, regrouping, Lisa called out from sensors. 4, still active. They're coming around for another pass. Let them come, Amy said. Her voice had changed. The fear was gone, replaced by the cold calm of a predator. Her pilot reflexes had fully engaged. She wasn't running anymore, she was hunting. The Veskari fighters came in fast, firing in coordinated volleys. Amy dropped the horizon suddenly, using gravity assist from a nearby moon. The fighters overshot, their targeting computers confused by the unexpected maneuver. Before they could adjust, Amy flipped the ship and accelerated back toward them. Brandon fired the moment they were in range. His aim was guided by instinct, not computers. He hit one fighter dead center. It spun away, trailing atmosphere. 3 fighters left. On the Veskari command ship, which had just arrived in the system, Dreshkor watched the battle with disbelief. 5 humans in a damaged research vessel were outfighting trained military pilots in superior craft. His analysts were feeding him data that made no sense. Their pilot is performing maneuvers that should be impossible, his tactical officer reported. She is pulling acceleration that would kill most species. She is dodging our targeting solutions before we finish calculating them. It is as if she knows what we are going to do before we do it. She is guessing, Dreshkor said. Luck, not skill. No, Commander. We have analyzed her flight pattern. There is no pattern. She is responding to threats with 0 delay. Her reflexes are operating faster than our targeting computers can adapt. This is not luck. This is something we have never encountered before. Dreshkor made a decision. Order all fighters to return. Activate the command ship's main weapons. We will destroy their ship before they can reach jump distance. The Veskari command ship was massive, bristling with weapons designed to fight fleet actions. Its main cannon could crack a moon. Against one small research vessel, it should have been instant death. Amy saw the weapons charging on her sensors. She saw the targeting lock engage. She had maybe 5 seconds before the cannon fired. She didn't try to dodge. She couldn't. The cannon's tracking was too sophisticated, its firing arc too wide. There was no direction she could run that would save them, so she did something no Veskari pilot would ever do. She flew straight at the command ship. Amy, what are you doing? Jake shouted. Reflexes, she said. Trust my reflexes. The command ship fired. A beam of pure energy lanced through space, enough power to vaporize a mountain. Amy rolled the horizon at the last possible instant. The beam missed by meters, so close that their shields failed completely, and the hull temperature spiked into the red. But they were alive. And now they were too close to the command ship for it to fire its main weapon again, without risking hitting itself with the blast radius. Kevin, I need everything the engines have got, Amy screamed into the intercom. You got it. Kevin's hands were already rerouting power, burning out safety systems, pushing the engines past their design limits. The horizon surged forward with thrust that should have torn the ship apart. Amy threaded the needle between the command ship's point defense turrets. The automated guns tried to track her, but she was moving too fast, changing direction too often. Her reflexes made decisions in microseconds, adjustments that no computer could match. Then they were past the command ship, past its weapons range, accelerating toward the system's edge. Jump calculations ready, Lisa said. She had been working on them throughout the fight. Her hands steady, despite the chaos. Do it, Jake ordered. The horizon's jump drive engaged. Space twisted around them. The Veskari ships tried to follow, but they were too slow, their calculations too careful, too precise. The humans jumped to faster than light speed and left the Veskari far behind. In the command center, Dreshkor stood in silence. His entire security force had been beaten by 5 humans. His research facility had been breached. His fighters had been destroyed or disabled. His command ship had been made to look foolish. Get me a communication channel to Threshik, he said quietly. I need to know what kind of species we have been studying. I need to know what we have released into the galaxy. On the horizon, the crew sat in their stations, breathing hard. The adrenaline was starting to fade, replaced by exhaustion and relief. We made it, Lisa said. She sounded surprised. Yeah, Jake said. We did. Amy, that flying was insane. The Horizon limped into Earth's outer defense perimeter 6 days after escaping Viscari space. Amy had pushed the damaged engines as hard as she dared, jumping through 3 systems to make sure they weren't being followed. By the time they reached home, the ship was held together by Kevin's emergency repairs and nothing else. Earth Command sent an escort of military vessels to bring them in. Jake sat in the captain's chair, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the view screen. It felt like years since they had left, not months. Horizon, this is Defense Cruiser Atlas, a voice came through the comm. We're seeing significant damage to your vessel. Do you require emergency assistance? Atlas, this is Captain Morrison. We're stable for now, but we need to speak with command immediately. Priority level. We have information about a hostile alien species. There was a pause. Then a different voice came on. Harder and more serious. Horizon. This is Admiral Peterson. You're cleared for direct approach to command station. A debrief team is already assembling. What can you tell me about this hostile species? Jake looked at his crew. They all looked back at him. Tired, but alive. Admiral. They call themselves the Viscari. They captured us for scientific research. They studied our reflexes. And then you escaped? Yes, sir. But it's not that simple. The Viscari. They're advanced. Way more advanced than us. They should have been able to hold us easily. But they made a mistake. They didn't understand what human reflexes really are. Another pause. Jake could almost hear the Admiral trying to process that. Explain. I think it's better if we show you the data, sir. We took one of their research pads. It has everything. All their tests. All their measurements. All their conclusions about humanity. Understood. Proceed to dock. And Morrison, good work getting your people home. The debrief took 12 hours. Jake and his crew sat in a secure conference room with Admiral Peterson and a team of scientists, intelligence officers, and military analysts. They went through everything: the capture, the tests, the escape, the battle. The Viscari datapad was translated and analyzed. The Earth scientists read the alien research reports with growing amazement. Dr. Helen Kim, the head xenobiologist, looked up from her tablet with wide eyes. This is incredible. The Viscari measured human reaction times at levels that shouldn't be biologically possible. They documented something they call dynamic reflexive adaptation. The ability to improve response patterns in real time during stress situations. Is that real? Admiral Peterson asked. Or is it alien speculation? It's real, Brandon said. I felt it during the combat tests. The more I fought, the faster I got. Like my body was learning and adapting without me thinking about it. Dr. Kim nodded. That matches the Viscari data. They tested over 40 other species. None showed this trait. Humans appear to be unique in the known galaxy. Why? Jake asked. What makes us different? A younger scientist named Peter Grant spoke up. Evolution, Captain. Earth was a death world compared to most inhabited planets. Constant predation, environmental threats, competition with other intelligent species. Humans evolved in an environment that killed anything that wasn't fast enough, smart enough, or adaptable enough. Your reflexes are the result of millions of years of survival pressure. The Viscari didn't have that, Dr. Kim added. They evolved on a stable world with few natural predators. Their reflexes are designed for precision work, careful movement, planned action. They're scientists by nature. Humans are, well, we're survivors by nature. Admiral Peterson leaned forward. What are the military implications? What? The room got quiet. Finally, Colonel Sarah Park from Tactical Analysis spoke. Based on the data from the Horizon's fight with Viscari forces, I'd say we have a significant advantage in any kind of direct combat. Their ships are better. Their weapons are better. Their technology is better. But their pilots and soldiers can't match human reflexes. They fight with predictable patterns. We fight with instinct, and adaptation. That's a dangerous assumption, the Admiral said. One lucky escape doesn't mean we can take on an advanced alien species. It wasn't luck, sir, Amy said quietly. I've been thinking about it a lot. The way I flew during that fight, I couldn't do it again if I tried. Not in a calm situation. It was pure reflex, pure instinct. I moved without thinking. And that's what beat them. They couldn't predict me because I wasn't following any plan. Admiral Peterson studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Understood. But this raises another question. If the Veskari know about human reflexes now, what are they going to do with that information? The answer came 2 weeks later. Jake was still at command station, helping to write a formal report on the Veskari, when the first transmissions started arriving. They came from all across the known galaxy, from species humanity had barely made contact with. The message was the same from all of them. The Veskari had published their research. Jake sat in the Admiral's office, reading the translated Veskari report that had been broadcast to every major species in the galaxy. The title made his blood run cold. Warning: Reflexive Apex Predator Syndrome in Humans. The report was comprehensive. It detailed every test, every measurement, every conclusion. The Veskari had documented human reflexes with scientific precision, but more than that, they had added a conclusion that Jake suspected came from Threshik himself. Humans possess reflexive capabilities that make them extremely dangerous in any confrontational scenario. Their ability to adapt and improve during high-stress situations, combined with their aggressive response to captivity, suggests that this species evolved as an apex predator. Unlike most spacefaring species who evolved as prey or cooperative herbivores, humans evolved as hunters. This is reflected in their forward-facing eyes, their endurance capabilities, and most critically, their reflexive responses. Caution is strongly advised when interacting with this species. They're warning the entire galaxy about us, Jake said. Admiral Peterson nodded. He looked tired. We've been receiving communications from alien governments for the past week. Some are requesting information. Some are demanding we explain ourselves. A few, a very few, are suggesting that humanity should be quarantined as a dangerous species. Can they do that? They can try. But the Galactic Council has no authority over human space. We're too new, too independent. Still, this changes things. We came to the galaxy hoping to be seen as explorers, as scientists, as peaceful neighbors. Now we're being labeled as predators. Jake was quiet for a moment. Are they wrong? The Admiral looked at him sharply. What do you mean? I mean, everything in that report is true. We are aggressive. We do have predator reflexes. We survived the Veskari facility by being violent and dangerous. Maybe we are the scary species in the galaxy. Maybe, Admiral Peterson said. But here's what that report doesn't say. It doesn't mention that you didn't kill any Veskari. You had the opportunity. You had the advantage, but you disabled their guards and ran instead of slaughtering them. That shows restraint. That shows we're not just mindless predators. Will other species see it that way? Some will, some won't. But that's true of any first contact situation. The important thing is that we know the truth about ourselves. Yes, we have aggressive reflexes. Yes, we're dangerous when threatened. But we're also capable of controlling those instincts. That's what makes us civilized. Over the next months, the galaxy settled into a new understanding of humanity. Some species were afraid and kept their distance. Others were curious, wanting to study humans from a safe position. A few saw opportunity, offering military alliances or trade agreements. And the Veskari, surprisingly, reached out directly. Jake was back on Earth, trying to return to normal life. When the message came, it was from Threshik himself, transmitted through official diplomatic channels. Captain Morrison. I am Threshik, the researcher who conducted the study of you and your crew. I wish to offer a formal apology on behalf of the Veskari people. Our research methods were unethical, and our treatment of you was unconscionable. We justified our actions through scientific curiosity, but that does not excuse what we did. Jake read the message alone in his apartment. He wanted to be angry, to hate the alien who had imprisoned them, but mostly, he just felt tired. The message continued. However, I must also thank you. The data we gathered has fundamentally changed our understanding of reflexive biology. More importantly, your restraint during your escape taught us something our instruments could never measure. You had the power to kill. You chose not to. That choice, that control over your instincts, is perhaps the most important data we collected. The Veskari High Council has voted to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. We wish to learn from you, not as research subjects, but as partners. We believe that a species with your reflexive capabilities combined with our technological advancement could benefit both our peoples. If you are willing, we would like to begin formal talks. No obligations, no demands. Simply a conversation between two species who have much to teach each other. I await your response. Threshik, lead researcher, Veskari Science Collective. Jake sat with the message for a long time. He thought about the White Room, the tests, the fear and anger of being caged. He thought about the fight to escape, the feeling of his reflexes taking over, the terrifying joy of survival, and he thought about the future. About humanity's place in a galaxy that now saw them as dangerous. About whether they could be more than their instincts. Finally, he composed a reply. Threshik, your apology is noted. Forgiveness will take time. Trust will take longer. But I am willing to talk. Humanity is willing to talk. We are aggressive. We are dangerous. Our reflexes make us formidable in combat. But we are also curious. We are also capable of growth. We choose to be more than just our instincts. Tell your High Council that Captain Jake Morrison and his crew will meet with Veskari representatives. We will discuss the future. We will try to build something better than fear. But understand this. If you ever imprison humans again, if any species tries to cage us or study us against our will, they will learn exactly how dangerous we can be. Our restraint is a choice, not a weakness. Remember that. He sent the message and stood up, walking to his window. Earth stretched out below him, the planet that had forged humanity in fire and blood and endless struggle. A death world that had created a species of survivors. The galaxy thought humans were dangerous. They were right. But danger wasn't the whole story. Humans were also dreamers, builders, explorers. They were capable of great violence, yes, but also great compassion. The trick was remembering which one to use and when. Jake's comm unit buzzed. It was Amy, asking if he wanted to meet the crew for dinner. Brandon had found a place that served real Earth food. Kevin wanted to show off some new engine designs. Lisa had been accepted to a xenobiology program. Life was moving forward. The galaxy knew about human reflexes now. They knew what happened when you backed humans into a corner. Maybe that knowledge would prevent future conflicts. Maybe it would cause them. Either way, humanity would face it the same way they had faced everything else. Together. With reflexes honed by millions of years of survival. With the ability to adapt, to fight, to endure, but most importantly, with the choice to be better than just their instincts. Jake grabbed his jacket and headed out to meet his crew. They had survived the Veskari. They had survived the galaxy's fear. They would survive whatever came next. Because that's what humans did. They survived. Amy's hands were shaking on the controls now that the danger was past. I don't even remember half of it. I just moved. My body knew what to do. That's what they were studying, Brandon said. He was looking at the Veskari datapad Kevin had grabbed. Our reflexes. They were measuring how we react to threats. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Well, they know now, Kevin said from engineering. Question is, what do we do about it? Jake pulled up the navigation display. First, we get clear of this sector. Then we report to Earth Command. They need to know about the Veskari. They need to know what happened here. They'll want to know why we survived, Lisa said softly. When other species probably wouldn't have. Jake nodded slowly. Then we tell them the truth. We survived because we're human. And humans don't give up. Sect reflexes. Faster than thought. Faster than training. Brandon reached the first guard and struck once, twice, 3 times. The Vescari's weapon clattered to the floor. Jake came in from the side, disarming another guard with a move he hadn't used since basic training 15 years ago. His body remembered what his mind had forgotten. The fight lasted 20 seconds. 10 guards were on the floor, alive, but stunned. The human stood among them, breathing hard, but ready for more. Docking bay, Jake said. Now. Before they send more, they ran. Behind them, alarms screamed and the station AI began venting atmosphere from sections, trying to slow them down. But Kevin kept hacking controls, kept opening paths, his reflexes playing the station's systems like an instrument. They burst into the docking bay and there it was. The horizon. Their ship. Sitting exactly where the Vescari had left it. Get it started, Jake ordered. Amy, we need launch in 2 minutes. I can do one, Amy said. She was already running for the airlock. But the Vescari had never studied humans before. They had never seen what happened when humans felt threatened. They had never witnessed what millions of years of evolution had built into human instincts. They had never seen humans fight for their lives. Jake's heart rate spiked. Adrenaline flooded his system. His vision sharpened and time seemed to slow down. He could see every movement of every drone, his body tensed, ready to move in ways he didn't consciously control. Next to him, Amy's breathing changed. Her pilot reflexes engaged, the same ones that let her fly through asteroid fields and dodge enemy fire. Kevin's hands flexed, ready to grab and tear and break. Lisa's medical training made her aware of vulnerable points, weak spots, places to strike. And Brandon's entire body, became a weapon. The first drone dove at them, and everything changed. Didn't think about it, didn't plan it. His hand just moved. Threshik made a clicking sound that the translator didn't convert. The researcher looked at his device, then at Jake, then back at the device. Interesting, the alien said slowly. Your reaction time is 0.028 seconds. That is significantly faster than predicted. We will run that test again. Jake held the small object, a smooth sphere that felt like glass. His instincts were screaming at him to fight, to run, to do something. But he was trapped on an alien research station with his crew scattered and helpless. For now, all he could do was cooperate and wait for a chance. Any chance. The testing continued.